fans. Did you know that Dash is the only digital auction platform built specifically for professional sports teams and their fan bases? It is also your place to score your favorite hockey team's most authentic memorabilia and game day experiences. Dash powers the auctions for your favorite AHL, ECHL, SPHL, NAHL, and USHL hockey clubs, plus many more across sports. Get in on the bidding now by texting DASH to 66866 or visit thesinbin.net and click on Dash Auctions to check out the latest hockey auctions. Dash, making sports bidding so much easier in the digital age. This episode of Monsters Hockey OT is sponsored by Sporfy, the sports video platform that allows you to instantly capture, replay, and share your favorite game highlights, all without having to film. For more information, visit sporfy.com. That's SPORFIE.com. Or download the mobile app from the Apple or Google Play app stores. In the game of hockey, you need endurance, intelligence, and determination to emerge victorious in overtime. And when it comes to your hockey coverage, you should expect the same. Covering the AHL's Cleveland Monsters, welcome to the Monsters Hockey OT podcast. Here's your host, Deana Weinheimer.
Hello and good day to you from dreary and chilly Central Ohio. This is the Monsters Hockey OT podcast for December 20th, 2020. Welcome to episode 2 of Monsters Hockey OT. Again, my name is Deana Weinheimer, and I am so happy that you could join me to catch up on the latest in the world of the AHL's Cleveland Monsters. So thank you again for tuning in. But today I have a bit of a special holiday treat for you. Of course, we will get started with a bit of news, but the bulk of the show today will actually be catching up with Monsters forwards Justin Scott and new signee Tyler Sakura and defenseman Dylan Simpson. But there is a small bit of housekeeping that we need to get out of the way first. This will potentially be the last episode of Monsters Hockey OT. But don't be too upset, because actually we're not going anywhere. There's just a bit of a rebranding going on behind the scenes. So potentially by the time episode 3 is launched, you might notice a new name, but you'll still be able to find this and all future episodes in the exact same place, just under a different name. We're still working behind the specifics, and once it's ready, we will announce the new name. But now that's out of the way, let's get on to the hockey, shall we? So first things first. I mean, we can keep talking hockey all we want, but I know and you know that the real question is, when are we going to get some live hockey to watch? So right now, the AHL seems to be sticking to a February 1st, 2021 start date. So that's no news there. But the good thing is that date hasn't changed here for a while. Actually, according to the Athletic's Corey Pronman, the AHL right now is looking at a 44-game schedule, which they are hoping to run through about the end of May. Right now, those plans include 5 divisions, with the Canadian teams making up one of these divisions. And of course, games will only be played in division for the regular season, just to help reduce travel and potential COVID exposures to the players, the staff, media, basically anyone that works around the team. However, the biggest impact right now to teams in the AHL is the talk of expanded rosters up at the National Hockey League level. The latest word on the NHL roster limits, at least according to TSN's Frank Saravalli, is that the roster is going to stay for the NHL at 23 players, though they're looking to add on a 4 to 6 man taxi squad. Now, this squad is going to travel and practice with the NHL team and is paid a full AHL salary. So this kind of helps give some safeguards against NHL teams having to potentially cancel games because of a COVID-19 outbreak on the team. They already have those guys ready at the arena. They've been practicing with the team, and then you don't have to worry about any worries about quarantining or players having to cross borders, especially for, say, a Canadian NHL team like the Calgary Flames that has their AHL team down in Stockton in the United States. But what does this mean exactly for Cleveland, you might be wondering? Well, right now, I can't say for certain. But for starters, let's at least take a look at the guys that are currently signed to two-way deals in Columbus. At forward, now some of these names kind of surprised me. I didn't realize that they were on two-way contracts, like Emil Benstrom and Alexander Texier. Those two-way deals, along with Liam Foudy, Trey Fix-Wolanski, Zach Dalpe, Cliff Pugh, Cole Sherwood, Stefan Matteau, Calvin Turkoff, Ryan McInnes, Kevin Stenlund, and Nathan Gerbe. On defense, we have Jacob Christensen, Tim Bernie, Andrew Peak, Gavin Bayreuther, and Gabriel Carlson. Finally, we have three goalies on two-way contracts with Columbus, Veni Vevalainen, Matisse Kivlenieks, and Daniel Tarasov. Now, at least in my mind, we may see some more of the bubble type players like Gerbe, Stenlund, Matteau, Carlson, and potentially one of the goalies. In my mind, either Vevalainen or Kivlenieks stay up with the Blue Jackets. Plus, you may notice that Adam Glendening was not on that list, which is because he's actually on a one-way deal this upcoming season. So I think it's kind of safe to assume that the CBJ plan on having him on their roster this coming season. Also, there have been some rumors on Twitter. Again, these are just rumors. There's nothing concrete about this at all, about there being limits on how long a player can sit on the taxi squad. Again, just a rumor. Nothing has been solidified when it comes to that yet. But if that is the case, then we can expect to see a revolving door of two-way players between Columbus and Cleveland, which in my mind is just one more advantage to having, your NHL and AHL affiliate play in the same state and just a quick 2-hour drive away. But again, we have no idea what's going to happen until all the language is signed off on the NHL and the NHL Players Association level, or even what's going through the minds of the coaches, the GMs, all those people. I mean, honestly, this is uncharted territory for all of us. But regardless of who sits on the taxi squad or what ends up happening there are still plenty of great AHL caliber players and talent sitting on the open market. So no matter who ends up leaving, Cleveland has options to fill those spots. Again, once agreements are signed on the NHL level, I would not be surprised to see more AHL contracts signed, especially for veterans that are sitting on the open market. But let's just take a step back, because all this talk is assuming that there is an AHL season to be had. So what do we have to do to get to that point? So there are, in my mind, two big milestones or landmarks that the AHL is probably watching for. The first is the NHL actually dropping the puck on their season. Yes, they have all these talks about agreements and things right now, but so much can happen between now and the first day of their season. So once the puck drops on the actual season, not on any preseason, not on training camp, but the actual season, expect to see a flurry of activity out of the AHL. I mean, after all, AHL president and CEO Scott Housen has said it himself multiple times. They want to know exactly what the NHL is doing before he or the league make any moves. Essentially, the AHL season is riding completely on the NHL season right now. The second milestone is positive news of a COVID vaccine rollout. I mean, that might come as no surprise, but honestly, Patrick Williams, who appeared on this past Wednesday, the Hockey Writers Live, said it best. The league does not want to start a season and then have to shut it right back down. I mean, whether it's common knowledge or not, there have been a lot of office cuts league-wide in the AHL. So to start the season, they're going to have to either bring those people back or they're going to have to find new people to fill those roles. Of course, positive news of the COVID rollout will also potentially, I'm not going to pretend to be any sort of genius or good when it comes to economics or politics or anything like that. But the positive COVID rollout vaccine news will also potentially have a trickle-down effect into increased economic confidence. And as you probably realize, the AHL is a league built on people coming to the games and enjoying an evening with their family and friends, including concessions, souvenirs, tickets, things like that. So when people cut budgets, especially say the middle class or the working class, which is the bulk, which is or at least a large portion of the AHL's market, when people there cut budgets, usually entertainment, sports, things like that are the first things to go. But let's pardon the cliche here, but this is still very much a fluid situation. As of this point, there's no word from the Monsters or the AHL regarding attendance, schedules, anything like that. They have a lot of logistics to work through right now. But just know that when news starts breaking, I'm going to have it covered for you, and I will keep you informed the best that I can. So let's move on to some really good news, this time courtesy of the Monsters. Right now, their annual Season of Giving program presented by Physicians Ambulance is in full swing. Sure, the pandemic has eliminated opportunities for volunteering and my personal favorite, Chuck-a-Bear Night, but the Monsters are still finding ways to give back and are also giving ways for their fans to do the same. Now, this includes donations from the Monsters Community Foundation and Physician Ambulance to programs such as the Children's Hunger Alliance, The Gathering Place, and the Northeast Ohio Coalition for the Homeless in conjunction with Giving Tuesday. Plus, the Monsters raised additional funds benefiting these organizations through auctions and raffles on the team's official Dash platform, actually, from December 9th to 16th. This included some pretty cool auction items, if I can say so myself, like game-worn Brett Gallant, Dylan Simpson, and Brad Thiessen jerseys. Honestly, I think some Monsters fans are going to have a very Merry Christmas indeed if they won one of those. The Monsters are actually working also with the NBA G League's Canton Charge to assemble PPE and essential kits, including face masks, gowns, hand sanitizers, lotions, and things like that. Now, Physicians Ambulance employees are going to be delivering these 750 kits to the Be a Better Me Foundation, the City Mission, and the Fatima Family Center. Now, finally, you may be wondering, okay, so you said that the Monsters are finding ways to help the fans give back, help the fans, give donations. So here is where you can help. The Monsters have teamed up with the Cuyahoga County Division of Children and Family Services for their Hope for the Holidays initiative. With approximately 2,800 kids in foster care in Cuyahoga County, the Hope for the Holidays initiative helps to provide holiday gifts for the children and teens in foster care. The fans are encouraged and welcome to join the Monsters in their efforts by donating gifts listed on the Hope for the Holidays Target Wishlist or contributing a gift card. Now, the gifts can be shipped directly from Target to the agency's address as well, which is located on the wish list site. If you want some more information on that, I will include the link to the wish list in my show notes, and you can also find it on the Cleveland Monsters website. Now, let's get to the part of the show that I know you all have been waiting for. we're going to catch up with some of the Monsters players themselves, shall we? So recently, members of the media got to sit down over Zoom with forwards Justin Scott and Tyler Sakura and defenseman Dylan Simpson to talk about their offseason, what their experience was like being free agents in the summer of 2020, and also what you can expect from the team this upcoming season. Now, as you can probably expect, life was far from normal this past summer for everyone. You, me, and the Monsters players. Whether it was expanding time or whether it was expanding their minds or finding new projects, Justin Scott found ways to pass the time. Let's hear from him, shall we?
It's just a weird, uncertain time right now, obviously, but it just seems like every couple months it's getting delayed, and there's nothing we can do to control it, but just trying to stay active and trying to work on certain things. But for me, I've been doing some couple courses here and there just to kind of keep your mind working, and same as some reading some books and stuff like that. But just trying to stay also in good shape and ready for the season when that starts.
Now for forward Tyler Sakura, he is one of the newest Monsters, and he and his fiance actually spent the time and invested their talents into a very unique project.
So my fiance and I were looking at houses, and I think it's still maybe a season premature to buy a house at this point. So we were like, well, we're in quarantine. What can we do? And she's had this idea for a little while, and she never really brought it up as a serious thing, but she found one on Kijiji, and we went to look the next day. It needed a little bit too much work, but then we subsequently kept looking up, and within about 3 days of the idea being brought up, we went to a town about 45 minutes away, and we bought it's a 1973 Fleetwood Terry Taurus. It's a 31-foot trailer, and it needed some work, but it was mostly cosmetic stuff and not electrical or things that I would be not capable of doing myself. And I've always wanted to be a handy person. I had no experience, and I figured, well, the only way that you can do it is to do it. So that's been our project recently. We got Instagram, we have the whole 9 yards. So we're getting there. We're almost finished. It'll probably take another couple of weeks of work, and then we can move some of the stuff in.
Now, as you may have heard, he mentioned that they do have an Instagram for their DIY restoration projects. So if you're interested in that, you can find them at the Glamptons. That's TheGlamptons. I personally follow that account. It's fascinating to watch all the progress that they've done. It's a really good follow if you're interested. But all three of the players, well, everybody, have found ways to keep up with their off-season training. After all, they're professional athletes. That's part of their job. And it may come as no surprise, but hockey players, actually all athletes, they are creatures of habit. So they structure their training to make sure that their physical peak hits right at the start of every season. So when they have predictability, their training schedules become a bit like a habit for them. So how have they dealt with a vague start date that keeps moving on them? Justin Scott went into this in a little bit more detail.
With a long season, there's been so many pushbacks and stuff like that. And, it felt like 5 months of just working out continuously. And, sometimes that gets mentally draining. So recently I've taken a break from the gym, and I've kind of worked on different things like mobility and stuff like that. And, I plan on going back into the gym probably a month and a half before the start, and, getting that fresh feeling again. And like you said, almost stepping into the season, with a full head of steam. So yeah, kind of adjusting the schedule as the dates appear.
So like we talked about earlier, that February 5th start date, That is so important that that date has not moved. And it's important for the athletes and their training schedules that it stays that date as long as it's safe for everybody to do that. So meanwhile, Dylan Simpson is also cautiously optimistic that that February start date holds as he's been planning his training schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially mentally, just having a target and goal and knowing how to map out how you got to go about your business is huge. I'm going to be cautiously optimistic that that's the start point. So from here on, you have for me especially, I have my normal workout routine, but it's more so on the ice. I ramp up as we get closer. So that's a huge thing to know in the back of your mind, the start date.
Likewise, Sakura was also asked about changes to his off-season training schedule, especially when he had the uncertainty of both the timing of the season and also the team that he'd be playing for.
Well, I've had time. That's I think the first thing. I was fortunate enough to end last season, 90% healthy, and I didn't really take much time off, to be honest, because I wanted to stay ready and stay fresh and kind of keep my sanity. But at this point, we've had a lot of time. As Scott said, you can't really go 100% all the time. And I think there's been certain points where mentally I just needed a break. So I've kind of taken weeks off here and there and try to focus on doing some other things. My fiance and I bought a vintage trailer and we've been fixing that up and learning piano, and I like to play instruments and stuff. So try to just occupy yourself and put some of that work ethic and creativity into other areas. But I think at the same time, you got to stay fresh and, maybe if it's not physically working on the ice several times a week, you can still mentally do some visualization or goal setting or whatever the case may be, where you're not exerting your body 100% with the thought that there might be a lot of games in a short period of time, but you're still staying sharp and staying ready.
Now, there were many things actually that the three players agreed on. One thing that Simpson agreed on with Sakura is that the mental preparation is such a key factor for him in training and getting ready for the season. So what exactly does that mean for him personally?
Yeah, me and the guys were talking about it a bit before you guys all got on. A big thing through this has been the mentally staying sharp. Physically we're used to, working out, staying in shape, staying on top of our games, but just the mental grind of, I said it before, it's almost like you have to reset every so often because you're preparing for a certain date. It gets pushed back. You got to go through a little reset in your mind, amp it up again. So it's been interesting, but as an older guy in this league, you're kind of used to the ebbs and flows of being a hockey player, and it's very different this year, but I've been doing all I can to just at least stay sharp and stay focused when I can.
Now, Dylan Simpson is a leader on the Monsters team, both on and off the ice. He and a few of the other members of the leadership team have kept tabs on the rest of the team and have reached out throughout this extended off season. I mean, honestly, if you think about it, it's going to be close to a year from the last time that these guys have played in competition. So there has been communication between both the players and the coaches, which the team, they appreciate.
I'm in touch with all the coaches still. Just it's more they just check in, see how everyone's doing, and then as for the team, whenever you can, when someone signs, everyone congratulates them. Guys stay in touch just to stay on top of how everyone's doing. But again, it's tough too for me right now. Gerby's in town and Brad Thiessen's in town, but other than that, everyone's just scattered. So it's a weird dynamic. I know we got a good group of guys that stay in touch, so it's been great to hear for some guys every now and then. But other than that, what can you do more than that right now?
Now, for Dylan Simpson personally, he has had a particularly exciting offseason, but I'll let him tell you why.
Yeah, so we had an April Fool's baby in the middle of a pandemic. So it's been great for us, being at home, not much going on. It's been probably the best time to have a little one keeping us up at night and stuff. But yeah, we had her April 1st here in Cleveland, and everything's been going well. Mom and baby are happy and healthy, so it's been fun.
Now, congratulations are definitely in order to them. It is absolutely an exciting time for the Simpson family. But an added perk to all this is that their new addition has helped keep him fresh.
Well, the baby's keeping my mind sharp, that's for sure. So that's been a new challenge and keeping us in a routine at least, which has been nice. Sorry, she's just coming into the room right now. And then hockey-wise, it's very difficult right now, but to try to keep it as close to a normal summer as you can, whether it's going to the gym the same amount of time, just trying to get on the ice. I know in some places it's hard to do, but for a lot of guys, they're still skating with the same groups they have in the summer. Now it's just prolonged. So like I said, it might be you ramp it up and then have to kind of reset, take a step back and kind of lean back into it again. So it's been a lot of that, but everyone has their own way about it. At the end of the day, I hope most players feel still sane after all this, but I've heard good things from a lot of guys, so it's good to see.
Now, all three of Scott, Sakura, and Simpson found themselves as free agents after the 2019-2020 season. Of course, Scott and Simpson were on the Monsters last season. They returned to the Monsters for this upcoming season, and Sakura is switching teams from Rockford to Cleveland. They all opened up on the call about their experiences and what they actually heard from other free agents around the league. So up next, we're going to hear from Sakura and Simpson.
It's a lot of anxiety, and it's not a very settling situation. So I was very fortunate, as I said earlier in the call, to kind of know that Cleveland was interested from June, July, and have some constant communication once some certain things shored up, and we had a better idea of what we were looking at. But it's something that I've been used to throughout my career. I'm used to waiting around, and I think my first AHL contract in Rockford a couple of years ago was September 3rd or something. I signed, right a week before going to camp. So it's something that it does suck to deal with, but at the end of the day, it's a cliche, but you can only control what you can control. And, you have to wake up, go to the gym and get on the ice and work hard and do the things that you're going to be doing, regardless of whether you have a contract or not, because at the end of the day, all these guys are still going to be hockey players. You're maybe losing out on some months of development, but you got to find ways to make that up elsewhere. And I think I'm looking at this time as testing your mental fortitude. And if you can make some advances and make some strides here, then maybe you can gain a competitive advantage over some guys that, maybe didn't have contracts, so they decided not to work as hard. And, that's just kind of the mindset that I've been trying to use to get through it.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of teams are kind of paralyzed because more so when free agency first started, no one really knew when we were supposed to start yet either. So teams aren't jumping at guys. Some teams want to keep contracts low in case anything happens. So, especially for guys like myself who are like maybe just more AHL players, but, guys teams want around. The market right now, it's not that it's not there. It's just teams aren't going to be jumping at the bit to be signing guys when there's so many uncertainties still.
Now, as I mentioned, Tyler Sakura is one of the newest Monsters, but he is very confident in his abilities and what he can bring to the team. After all, he's a veteran in the league and is pretty familiar with change.
This is, as I said, as Tony said earlier, my 7th year in playing games in the American League. And obviously I've had a lot of ups and downs and dealt with a couple, trades in the ECHL level and, getting called up and sent down. So I kind of understand what you need to have some staying power in the league. And I think a lot of that is being versatile. So I think that's something that I can bring to the table. I don't necessarily have to play one position or one role or in a certain situation. I think part of what makes me valuable is I can kind of play up and down a lineup in all different situations. And try to bring some leadership off the ice as well. So I've been in Rockford for the last couple of years, and I've learned a lot. And I think going to a new organization and somewhere that's had a lot of success and obviously Calder Cup championships in recent years, and having that new opportunity in a new set of eyes is going to be really refreshing for me, and I'm excited about it.
Meanwhile, for Justin Scott, as a veteran on the Monsters and in the American League, he is no stranger to having new faces join the team. For him, he expects all the new additions up to this point to pitch in and to make this both a competitive and exciting season.
I think every single season, that's just kind of the way the league is. A lot of new players come in and out, and I know Sakura offers a lot of experience, being an older player with leadership, and young players that kind of were drafted, and they're going to get an opportunity. So I think, especially with the way the team's looking right now, we're going to be very competitive, and it's going to be another good season.
So as free agents, they all debated on where they would eventually sign. But again, one thing that all three of them agreed on is that they all wanted to be in Cleveland. Their reasons may be a little bit different, but they're all very happy to be in the organization, and quite frankly, they enjoy the city.
Yeah, it was something from even midway through last season. It was something that I wanted to do. Very comfortable playing here. Love the staff. Love the group of guys we have, and kind of coming to this organization from a new perspective 2 years ago. Really dived in and loved everything about it. So, those discussions actually started before the pandemic hit, and then with everything, we had to be pretty patient, but very happy to be back and to get 3 years back here in Cleveland's great for me and my family, and we're super excited about it.
So not only is that great for his family, but it's also great for the team and for the fans because there's a bit of stability there. He's a great player, again, on and off the ice. So it's great to have him back for another few years. But one thing that Simpson definitely made sure is that he is very much looking forward to playing in front of the fans again.
Yeah, I think I got interviewed my first home game in Cleveland 2 years ago, and I said it right off the bat: is playing in front of those fans is awesome. In that building, the support we get, the amount of fans we get, something we all miss. Don't know how normal it will be when we get back to it, but that's the biggest thing I'm looking forward to is getting back out there with the crowd behind us.
Now, for Sakura especially, as you can imagine, hockey is kind of a small world. A lot of these players meet each other through either just working out together because they're from the same town, they play together when they're younger, or even as they work their way up through the different leagues. And that was the case for Tyler Sakura. He actually knows several current and former Monsters, and talking to them and knowing them helped to solidify his decision to sign with the Monsters. I'll let him explain a little bit more.
I played with Adam Clendenning in Rockford. He got traded. So I'm used to hearing him talk in the locker room a whole lot. Zach Dalpy, I played with a little bit in Iowa. I skated with Scotter last summer, I believe it was, in Oakville, Ontario. So some of these guys I've obviously played against and know that way too. I lived with Nick Mutry last year, who's obviously known by all the Cleveland fans. So it's exciting. It's more familiar than I've ever expected and experienced throughout the pro career, going from one team to the next. So it's nice to have that level of familiarity. And also Matthew Struthers, who's a new Cleveland Monster. I'm sure you guys will be talking to in a little bit. I trained with him for the last couple summers. So it's going to be exciting.
And on the same hand, Justin Scott says for him, it was a no-brainer to return to Cleveland. So what exactly about the city and the franchise that enticed him to resign there?
Columbus, Cleveland, they offer, they're kind of go hand in hand, and they, still look at me as, a prospect. But with that being said, I love Cleveland. it's like a second home to me right now. So it was a no-brainer. I'm very happy with coming back.
And as you can probably tell, the love for the city of Cleveland runs deep for Justin Scott.
I love it. I'm very very familiar with it, obviously, and love the team, love the organization, and I know it's just a good opportunity. So I'm happy to be back.
Now, this is actually going to be Justin Scott's, I believe, his 5th year in Cleveland, and is actually very close to setting a record for the games played in the Monsters franchise. He is in 2nd place right now. Again, very close to getting that record. So what does that mean for him?
No, I kind of, found out kind of during the season. Some guys would kind of bring it up, but obviously I just want to, play as many games as I can and play good hockey. And, the goal is still to play in the NHL, but obviously it'd be a really good achievement. Cleveland's it's a hockey town. It really is. I definitely, I'm privileged to be on the team for 5 seasons now. So it's going to be good.
Now, moving back to Sakura, he is all about the fans too. Of course, the facilities and actually closeness to family when it came to his decision to ultimately sign in Cleveland.
Well, I'm an Ontario boy, so it's close to home first off, and that was always something that was appealing. My family and my fiance and her family have come and watched me play in Cleveland, and obviously you're at an incredible arena, and I know some of the guys on the team that speak so highly of it. So I always had positive feelings, and I always thought that Cleveland might be a place where if things were to line up at the right time that I would enjoy playing. And sure enough, when the AHL free agency period opened up, they were the first team to reach out, and we were kind of in constant communication. And I think what I've learned over the years is you want to go where you're wanted. And I think that, my communication throughout the pandemic, and especially when there was nothing else really going on, seemed constant, and it seemed like a really good fit. And like I said, I'm really excited about the chance to come to Cleveland because I've been there and I know a little bit about it from the guys that I've played with, and it just seems all around like a perfect spot.
Now, speaking again of the Monsters fans and the city, he is just happy to have them on his side now and to enjoy it all while being on the winning side of things.
Well, it's nice to be on the other side of things. I know in Rockford the last couple of years, we really didn't have very much success against Cleveland. It's fun to come visit the city and, go to some new restaurants and have some family in town, but, it sucked losing. So it's going to be nice to be on the other side of things this time. And like you said, the atmosphere and the facilities are just top notch, especially for an American League organization. And that's something that I think as you get older, you start to appreciate more and more.
And before we let them go, Justin Scott actually had a few words to share about what it was like to play under head coach Mike Eaves last season. It was Coach Eaves' first year in the organization and his first return to the American Hockey League in several years. So there was a bit of an adjustment period.
Yeah, no, it was definitely kind of a different adjustment. Mike Eaves coming in, and he brought great energy right off the bat, and really positive coach. He's obviously been doing it for a while, and I think he found different connections throughout the team, and I think that's what good coaches can do. So with different players, I think just overall having him on the bench and just kind of being someone who can offer guidance to some of the younger guys who just kind of stepping into the league, I think goes a long way for us.
Well, that is it for our interview with Justin Scott, Tyler Sakura, and Dylan Simpson. I would like to thank them all and the Monsters organization, especially the communications team, for giving us for giving all of us in the media time to chat with all three of the players. It was nice to return to some sense of normal and to talk hockey with the guys. As you can see, all three were excited to potentially hopefully move forward and start really gearing up for the season, get in front of the fans, and actually play some meaningful hockey again. So that is it for episode 2 of Monsters Hockey OT, and you are up to date with everything Cleveland Monsters hockey. Thank you so much for listening or watching. I am so excited you made me part of your day. Again, my name is Deana Weinheimer, and you can catch me on Twitter at SinBinMonsters. And you can also find all my written work over at thesinbin.net. So if you are enjoying the show, please subscribe so you can get notified every time I release a new episode. Also, please be sure to rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to it from. Not only does this help others find the show, but your reviews help me improve. So yeah, just please, please rate, review, share with all your Monsters hockey friends. I greatly would appreciate that. But if you are really enjoying the show, please consider leaving a tip in our digital tip jar at patreon.com/thesinbinhockey. Your support means a lot to us over at the Sin Bin and allows us to continue to provide coverage of minor league hockey and expand our coverage to more markets. And be sure to check out the other Sin Bin's podcasts, Hockey Talk, 3 Periods, Syracuse Speaks, Tape to Tape, and In the Corners. Until next time, thanks for listening and enjoy your holidays.
Thanks for tuning in to the Monsters Hockey OT podcast. For all the latest AHL, ECHL, and SPHL minor league hockey news and analysis, head to thesinbin.net. And don't forget to follow the Sin Bin on social media via Facebook and Twitter.
All sports fans have experienced this, right? Something amazing happens on the ice and you think, man, I wish I'd have been filming. Now with the Sporfy app, you can replace that thought with a click. With just one click of a button, Sporfy captures the past 15 seconds of action so you can instantly replay and share your favorite moments all without having to film. And it's easy too. All you have to do is download the app on iOS or Android devices and experience an all-new way of filming sports highlights.